We are now headed for our Alhambra tour. We have the Skip the Line tours with Viator, and we were picked up at the closest location if you're staying in a certain hotel. After being picked up, we are taken to the visitor center where they separate us into the different languages, and they give us the microphones where we put into our ears. And then we get our guide. Met our guide, his name is Gustavo, and we are now starting on our tour. We are in Alhambra in Granada. So we have hired a tour. I'm working with Viator, and they work with the local guides of each area in Granada. Gustavo is our guide for the day. So interesting facts, you have to have a ticket. Because we are with a tour, the tickets are through them, but if you come alone, you need to make the reservations way before. It's a very limited amount of people per time to enter Alhambra. So a funny fact is, it's easier to escape out of prison than to get into Alhambra. So if you lose your ticket, you lose the day. It doesn't matter. So make sure you hold on to your ticket. And apparently we are in for some amazing surprises. We are starting here. This is the main entrance, and this is the gardens. Alhambra is the most visited place in all of Spain. 8,000 per day. This is Alhambra, which is called the Red City. Alhambra is a city literally inside Granada, inside the city. This is Generalife, which are the gardens of the summer palace of the Sultan, which is actually outside. The Sultan never slept in that particular palace because it didn't have the walls of the fortress. And this Generalife, the gardens, what it is actually fruit and veggies and garden that brought you food and sustainability. These new gardens that we are about to see have been actually just built in 1931. We are now enjoying the gardens. In every single courtyard, when the Arabs built the palaces and the fortress, you will find water. Arabs come from the desert, so water to them means the power of life. This is a Moorish fountain. They are very, very quiet. The Christian fountains are louder and more elaborate. Now this is also still inside the Generalife Palace, and now this is the Christian fountains. They are louder, they're bigger. Look at this elaborate work. As our guide says, this is the tapas before the entree. Just a little teaser of what we're about to see once we are inside the main house. Before 1492, when this was Arab owned, and after 1492. Anything after 1492, they call it the Christian development, and the Moorish development is before 1492, from 1238 to 1492. The highest point of our tour, and there is the full Alhambra in its glory. We are standing in the high gardens of the Sultan Palace, Generalife, which is the summer palace. And what's interesting is the different plants that are here. This is a sequoia and a magnolia tree. Both of these trees have been brought during the Christian time after 1492 from the Americas. We are now entering the Alhambra, which is the fortress. And this bridge is what connects Generalife, the summer sultan's palace, to the Sultan's summer palace, to Alhambra, a city within the city of Granada. Alhambra itself was actually a city inside of Granada. This is where people lived. So Alhambra had two main destructions. Napoleon's army in the beginning of the 19th century, which have now been a lot of it was restored, and earthquakes. A lot of earthquakes have happened to destroy parts of Alhambra. This is where a lot of the food for the city was held. They call it the 13th century refrigerator. This used to be the Prince's Palace during the Moors' time, and then when Isabella and Ferdinand took over, which is after the Christian invasion, 1492, this became a church. And it had many different cycles of what it went through. Hospital, place for Napoleon armies, gunpowder, and today it is one of the most expensive, most exclusive hotels in Granada. You need 2 years to make a reservation to be here. We are on the main public road. This is open to the public. To get into any of the buildings on the side, which is the Alhambra, you do need to show your ticket. This is the only real Christian building here, Charles V's Palace. All the rest is by the Arabs, by the Moors. Charles V Palace, which is the only Christian construction in the Alhambra, is actually open to the public. You do not need to buy tickets for the Alhambra to visit this particular palace. There's always a lot more people here because of that. We are now inside the Charles V Palace. Looks like the Colosseum. So this was built for Charles V. This is actually the very first Renaissance style building in all of Spain, built in the 16th century. What happened though is that Charles ran out of money. The palace was never lived in and it was completely incomplete. They call this the Rock of Granada.
One on earth, but it's enough to put a smile on your face, of course.
This is the Gates of Wine.
It's going to offer you 10%.
Okay, so the history is the key. This was built during the Moors' time, and the key represents the key to paradise, the key to God's land, Allah's land for the Moors. The Gates of Wine was actually named after the Christians have come, and the reason why is because right here, back in the 16th century, you were able to buy wine at this gate tax-free. This was the original duty-free place for wine. We are now heading into the Alcazaba, which means fortress. And once again, we need to show our tickets. So we're looking at El Albaicin, which was the old Moorish and Gypsy quarters, and they were actually here before the Alhambra. So this actually is the same view which the sultans were seeing and the people in Alhambra living here were seeing back in the 13th century. So this was the very first structure built of Alhambra, of the Alcazaba, which was the fortress. This was where the king originally lived. And this used to be his court. But then the palaces were added on, and this became the soldiers and the captains' houses. And this was a street. This was the soldiers' baths, hammams. So what's interesting is that nobody actually ever attacked this fortress. This was supposed to be a moat, but there was never a reason to fill it up, and no one ever attacked it. In 1492, the Christians took over pretty easily. It was just simply surrendered to the Christians, and the Arabs left. This is the El Albaicin, the old Moorish quarters, which pretty much is the same today as it was back then. And that's Sierra Nevada in the back.
It is known as Albaicin. And as you can see, everything is filled with white houses.
In Albaicin, all the houses are called Carmen. They are only called Carmen in Albaicin area, and what it is, they have to have courtyards, and the entire house is colored by white on the outside. Looks very simple, but once you enter, that's where all the riches are seen. In Arabic homes, you never see the riches on the outside, just like here. It looks very plain and simple, but has the most elaborate, beautiful Arabic palaces inside. And there's the cathedral. So January 2nd, 1492 is when the Christians took over the city of Granada. And there's the Sierra Nevadas. None of these trees were here when the original fortress was built. This was all put in during the Christian was the Christian time after 1492. Back during the dynasty of the Arabs, this was a place to watch the city. There were absolutely no trees in the way. And after the 1492 takeover by the Christians, these gardens were planted here because there was no more worries about being invaded. Until Napoleon. We are now headed into the palaces. We are now waiting to get into. We're now waiting to get inside the palace. There's always a line to go in because it is a very regulated place. So we have to wait online right now.
You have to show your ticket about
And again, we have to show our ticket. After the Napoleon destroyed most of Alhambra in the 19th century, people in Granada wanted to rebuild it. So they needed stones. If you look closely, you could see just brick stones, and then you will find the long ones. These were actually tombstones from the Muslim cemeteries that were used here. Interestingly enough, though, the tombstones were taken from empty tombs because when the Muslims left, they took all of their dead bodies with them back to South Africa or wherever they came from. And it's time to do another ticket check. This is the entrance to the palace. Everything here, as you see, was actually very colorful. Now the colors have been lost. And after the invasion of Napoleon and in the early 20th century, actually late 19th century, early 20th century, the Alhambra was actually a squatter place. The government didn't care for it. People squatted here, and all the furniture of the Arabs was used as firewood, or sold off. So nobody cared about this place until Washington Irving came here and wrote about this place, and the government took over and restored it, and now it's one of the most popular places to visit in Spain. So the king had one main wife, which was his favorite, but she also came from actual royalty. And after that, he was able to have as many wives as he wanted. Normally, it was approximately 4 wives. This is the tallest tower in the palace, and the water was made specifically as a mirror for it. Up there is where the wives used to live. They were able to look out, but we could not see them. So the king was a Muslim, obviously, and Muslims prayed 5 times per day. This was where he prayed. It's a very small space because nothing should distract him from the prayers. And if you went straight, you would reach Mecca. So look at this detail. It's hard to imagine what these rooms look like with the furniture because they're completely bare right now. But this was furnished in the most elaborate, beautiful Arabic furniture. Look at this windows.
So, here, that's a sentence. And here, you can read. Sorry about my Arabic. Wala ghaliba illallah. That means, only Allah is the victor. This is the motto of the dynasty, and you can read it wherever you look. Almost 80% of the writing is going to be this. Have a look. It's written here, 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 there, and everywhere. And my friends,
Allah is the victor.
These little rooms
the
on the
motive
sides.
of this castle. Palace. This is difficult to even express, and I'm not sure video can even do it justice. This. Wow. These doors are the original doors from the 14th century. And we are now headed into the main bedroom. Oh my goodness. So this is one of the bedrooms of the house. And again,
one of the pillars of the
water.
You have to bring 5 times a day. You have to wash yourselves. So you have to find water in the middle of the river. And remember,
and if you look really close, you'll see that the ceiling looks like it has stalagmites from the cave. Muhammad, the original prophet for the Muslims, had to run and stay in caves. He was running away. And this is what this represents. And this is one of the main bedrooms. There is 124 pillars that are surrounding the living quarters and this courtyard. 124 is 1 plus 2 plus 4 equals 7, which is a magical number. And again, the motif is everywhere. Allah is victor. Allah is victor. It's written everywhere. So an interesting fact about this palace, and actually about the whole Alhambra, the palace itself took about 20 years to build. The Alhambra was about 150. It was never built with slave labor. It was built with hard workers and well-paid workers, by the way. So the whole place is built out of love and respect. This is the only room. This is the other bedroom called the Hall of Two Sisters. It's another amazingly elaborate, beautiful bedroom. So the reason why it's called the Hall of Two Sisters is the only room that we are looking at that actually, you look at the floor. The rest of the floors are not original. This has 2 huge slabs of marble, identical. And of course, the amazing ceilings and detail all around. Again, we're looking at white, but during the time when the Muslim kings lived here, it was colorful. It was colored in all different colors. So all the windows were actually in stained glass windows, and it was like a kaleidoscope of different colors playing all through the palace. Right now, if you look, you'll see a wall right in front. That was actually built after the 1492 takeover. Before, this was a perfect view of the Moorish city of Al-Qasim. And the windows are so low because everything was laying down. The kings would be laying down, and that's why. Now we are about to cross over from the Muslim palaces into the Christian takeover, 16th century additions. And everything here, if you think about it, was during the convent era, the monks. This was very austere, very rigid, very religious, and very strict. All passion gone. Look at this. Very. This is the baths of the king, and this gallery here is actually where there were musicians, because the bath times were at different hours and for men and women. The musicians had to be blind. They were blind from birth. No one became ever blind on purpose. And they found blind musicians who played here while the kings and queens and other people would be bathing. There was also dressing rooms. So this is the room where Washington Irving spent a lot of his time while writing the tales of Alhambra during the squatter time. And this is what the book that gave Alhambra the life that it has today. And this is now looking out into Generalife, the summer palace of the Sultan. Идем, солнышки. Иди с папой, иди к папе. Up there, that is the room where Washington Irving wrote his book. It is also the point where Alhambra, Moors, Muslims, ends, and the new Christian Alhambra begins from the 16th century.